Hey everybody, welcome to Big Valley Living. My name is Michelle and I am living with stage 4 colon cancer. My last update was 6 weeks ago and quite a bit has happened in that time frame. During the month of September, we hosted a collaboration about being prepared for life's emergencies called the 30 Days of Preparedness 2025, and now we're finished with that. But while that was going on, I did have several appointments and I have some updates for you. Okay, so what we're going to do today is I'll start by giving you an update on all of my numbers, but then we're going to go into I'm going to expand a little bit on the PET scan results and what's going to happen next. And we're also going to talk about advocates and advocating for yourself today, because it's very important and it really did change the face of what the near future looks like for me as far as getting information and getting some answers to see what's going on and if we need to do or change any of the treatment that we're currently undergoing. So if you've been watching, you know that I had some issues getting a clear PET scan during the middle of the summer, and that's because my blood sugar was really high, and my blood sugar was really high because I was going through treatment with chemotherapy called FOLFIRI plus Avastin. So now I'm only doing the Avastin, which is a biologic, and its job is to keep everything at bay, but the chemotherapy itself is finished. When I say that, I mean the FOLFIRI. And so let's see, where do I want to start here? Let's start with my CEA. That is the number that kind of shows in your bloodstream if there's a presence of cancer or if it's growing and that type of thing. And we've talked about it in previous videos, so I'm going to kind of just let you go back and watch those if you want a better explanation of that. But my CEA has been going up and down since September of 2024. And the highest it got was about 26.8. And it just steadily grew and got higher and higher. And lately it's been a little bit lower. So I'm going to give you some actual dates and numbers. My most recent CEA was drawn on October 3rd, and it was at 17.6. Not necessarily what I would like to see, but not a surprise either, because I have actively growing cancer in part of my body called the omentum, which is, it surrounds all of your major organs in your abdomen. And my stomach is so swollen, I can't tell you guys. I mean, it just feels like it's always full of food, even though I hardly eat anything. It just feels very swollen. So it's something my doctor and I continue to monitor and talk about. On September 19th, my CEA was 14.0, a very good number as of late. September 8th, it was 18.3. Not the best, but again, better than August 28th when it was 23.8. It had been growing up through August 28th and had actually been higher the previous test. That's the one that was near 26 or 26.8. So my CEA, I guess your CEA can change from day to day. So the fact that it's not going higher and higher is making me very happy. Again, knowing that there is active cancer in my abdomen and it's inoperable at this point. So, so this is the most, what would you call it? This is the most serious, not that none of it's been serious, but when it can't be operated on or removed via an operation, I have to say that that makes me a little nervous, because it's better when they can take out what they can find and then treat you, and then, you know, it's not there or actively growing. So that's changed a little bit of how I look at it and stuff like that. But I've had time to process it. I've talked to friends who also have cancer. I've worked with a therapist, and you know, the best you can do is just keep on going. eat right as best as you can and get plenty of rest and things like that. Make sure you get some exercise and that you're active. And socially, I want to be active as well. And so I'm doing those types of things. And that is the best I can do as I am #living with stage 4 colon cancer. So I am doing my very best to balance the emotions, that come with all of these things. Now, also in my blood panel that was taken that I think is worth noting here is MCHC, which is one of the things that we look at. It's the concentration of hemoglobin within your red blood cells. Mine is low, and that makes sense right now because I actually just got off of chemotherapy, and it does change some of the ways that things interact with your red blood cells. I get blood tests every 2 weeks now because I get treated every 2 weeks. So it's constantly being monitored, and I expect to see that number normalize and go up into the normal range in the next month. Let's see, my blood sugar is looking way better now that I'm not taking the actual full Fury. That and some of the medications that they give you, like the steroids they give you during treatment, can really raise your blood sugar levels. So everything gets hyperinflated at that point. Now, now that I'm not taking any steroids or anything, my blood sugar has been really good. So I'll be seeing my endocrinologist in the next month as well. And at that point, he's going to be able to assess after I've been off of the chemotherapy for a while. And I should be getting an A1C, which measures like the past 3 months of your average blood sugar levels. I should be getting that in a couple of weeks. So I'll have a better update of that in late October, possibly early November. So watch for that. We'll see how that's going. But my blood sugar for the most part has been pretty good. I don't eat a lot of high carbohydrate foods. Right now I'm not really able to tolerate a lot of meats, and that's now well over 2 months that that's been going on. I'm going to dive into that in a little bit. I want to get through all of my updated numbers for you first, because some people really come here for that information. I'm not really sure why, but everybody has a different reason for checking in to see how things are going. Okay, now the biggest deal for me right now is my PET scan. So on February 6th, before I started my full Fury plus Avastin, all of my numbers were higher. The size of the tumors were they were about twice as big as they are now. They were more like in the 6 centimeter range, and now they're, one's a little bit, it's still smaller, but it's still there. And it's ranged from 3.6 to 4.9 centimeters. That's the biggest one. Again, it is what it is. And hopefully the Avastin that I'm getting is going to keep that at bay and keep those from spreading and from growing. And I do see my doctor often, so it's a constant update. It's a constant change also. So February 6th, my PET scan showed signs of a possibility of spread in my spine, which my liver and my lungs are the 3 areas that really, I am hyper focused on when we get numbers and updates, because those would be a big problem. And I am 5 years, I'm almost 6 years into being stage 4 colon cancer, which your probability of living 5 years beyond a stage 4 is like between 5 and 13% survival rates. And those numbers come from various sources. So I'm going to throw both numbers out there. But 13% is the highest survival rate. So I feel really good that I'm in that lucky 13% club if we go to the higher number. And if it's the lower number, 5%, I'm overjoyed. And I feel pretty good. I mean, I have side effects. I have neuropathy in my feet really bad. I mean, just all kinds of things from the treatments and the disease itself over time. So the fact that I'm, living a fairly normal life, to me, except being kind of tired and not really wanting to eat the kind of food I used to eat, I'm really pretty happy at the point that I'm at. So I hope that you can take something from that. If you also have cancer, just keep fighting, just keep moving on, and keep your normal mindset as possible as it is for you. If you know somebody who's living through this and dealing with the treatment and everything, just continue to encourage them. I hear from family members, and it kind of makes me laugh because I'm just living my life. But they're like, you are really, you're really doing well. And they're all, encouraging me and stuff. My husband, my sisters-in-law, my brother, the kids, everybody, and my friends. Everybody tells me, you are really, doing a great job here. So if you're one of those people on the periphery of somebody's life who's living through this, they probably need to hear this often. So don't ever hesitate to tell them if you feel like they're your hero that day. So February, 2 spots on the L1 and L2 vertebrae in your back. So down in my very lower back is where they saw signs of possible spreading. So then, of course, we're going to keep an eye on it, right? Well, nothing was mentioned in the following 2, being in June. And, well, there was one in June that didn't do a good job because of my blood sugar being high. So we'll just say the next one didn't mention my spine at all. So my latest PET scan was actually performed, I'm getting the actual date here, September 9th, 2025. So in that particular one, it did show a little bit of growth in these, in my cancer spots, let's call them, small tumors in my omentum. And again, I just mentioned that the biggest one is at 4.9, and previously it had been 3.6. So 1.3 centimeter growth, that's pretty significant to me. So I am definitely going to be keeping my eyes on that, as well as my doctor, I'm sure. Now, the interesting thing about my spine on this one is that they did bring it up, but this time it showed up in my L3, but not in the L1 and L2. So that leads my doctor to want to get more information about that. And we scheduled an appointment with him for October 16th, which is next Friday or next Thursday. And in the meantime, he wanted me to get an MRI. And he wants it specifically to focus on my spine so that we can see if it was maybe just inflammation that's floating around a little bit, or to either verify or kind of rule out the fact that it could possibly be spreading to my spine. I have also been told by my oncologist to monitor, any kind of back pain. What does it feel like? Where is it? Is it stabbing pain? Is it dull pain? Then think about what you've done in the previous days. Could it possibly be strain or anything like that? So I am a little bit hyper tuned into that right now. But, aside from a little low back pain, which, I'm going to be 59 soon. So that can just happen from some of the yard work and things like that we do. And that's really kind of the type of back pain I have been experiencing. I did have some sharp pains in the summertime, late in the summer, but really I'd say in the last few weeks, really not very much at all. So very, very thankful for that. So we're going to get into advocating a little bit. There was an abnormally high amount of image appointments being made in our geographical area. One of the reasons is that one of the imaging centers in our general area was closed down for some repairs. So everybody at that point who had been scheduled at that office then had to be rescheduled to the other offices within that network. Well, that put like up to a 2-month backlog on getting the tests that we need, the MRI in my case. So the best I could get was like late November, and that was even going through a different provider. And my doctor and I don't want to wait that long, because if there is something growing and I am stage 4 and my cancer is active, right? So we don't really want to wait 3 months to get a result or get some sort of guidance on what direction do we need to go. So he, in a series of back and forth with him and with the staff that sets up all the appointments, his response was, let's get something sooner. Well, that really has not been very possible lately because of the complications of one of the facilities having to close down temporarily. So as it happens, I saw my nurse navigator at a meeting, in a support group meeting that I normally go to. And we started back up on Monday of this week. So it is Wednesday, okay? I saw her Monday at my meeting because she's in that overall cancer center, and she came in to say hi to everybody. And I explained to her the difficulty that I'm facing, right? Because there's no really big point in seeing the doctor until we have that MRI. So I had previously talked to his administrative assistant, who was really close to canceling that appointment until and scheduling a new one after the holiday, after the Thanksgiving holiday, because that's like around the time that I would finally be getting the MRI. Then you have to give him time to read it and provide results. So in my mind, she had already canceled that appointment. And so I did let my nurse navigator know that information. And my nurse navigator said, let me make some phone calls for you. Let's see what's going on. And at the same time, she looked on her computer, on her laptop, and she saw that the October 16th appointment had not been canceled yet. Thank God. So she made some calls, and so she must have started Monday afternoon, because she called me like right at 8 o'clock on Tuesday morning and said, can you be at an MRI this Friday, the 10th, in the morning? Yes, I can. So I'm going to get my MRI this Friday. I'm going to see my doctor on October 16th, and we're going to be able to talk about those results. You bet I'm going to come on and give you guys an update when that appointment has concluded. And let's just all pray for really good results. I just hope it's inflammation and that it's not spreading to my spine. Although it spread, there was a spot touching my spine years ago, and I had to get radiation there. And it did make it go away, but it kind of moved around and it landed in my omentum. So, so I know that there's a possibility of radiation should it go to my spine. That would be one of the things we would look at, as well as other treatment options. So right now we're in a holding pattern to see what's going on with the spine. And again, all well wishes and prayers are most welcome for that situation. That's what I wanted to talk a little bit. I wanted to expand a little bit on that for you as far as advocating for yourself. I hadn't really thought to check in with my nurse navigator when I couldn't get an appointment sooner than November. I relied on the very nice people who, are trying to get you scheduled as early as possible and everything else. But apparently there are little facts in the background, and those folks can really help you. So if you are going, you're being treated for cancer and you're having a problem getting into appointments or scans or anything like that, that possibly will prolong getting information, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to wait, find out it gets bigger, and then we have a bigger problem, right? I don't want to get it now. I want to get it early. So if you have a nurse navigator or some sort of advocate in your system that can help you, do not hesitate to reach out to them. Do not hesitate to explain to them what's going on, explain how you're feeling about that, maybe what your doctor had mentioned to his staff, because I'll tell you what, it was like magic that this happened. And I am extremely thankful to my nurse navigator. And then I can't remember what else I said I was going to talk to you guys about. Oh, I will tell you my blood pressure since I've been off of the chemotherapy. My blood pressure is amazing. It's like 102/71 before, in fact, this was just Monday morning. My blood pressure was 102/71 before I got my Avastin infusion. And then afterwards, it does always go up after you have an infusion of some sort. It was only 119/75. No complaints here. No complaints whatsoever. There are people my age taking pills for their high blood pressure and everything. So that makes me feel good because that's one of my normal, bodily not functions, but one of my normal bodily things going on that is doing well. It's just like my blood sugar. I've been doing my blood sugar, and my morning blood sugar has been like 124, 125, 121. I will take that all day long. It's also been down in the 90s, which I have not seen since my doctor put me on metformin. Now, my endocrinologist had put me, he said, go ahead and take the metformin while we were doing the chemotherapy. And I did take the metformin during that period of time, especially because I had to get my blood sugar regulated so I could get the PET scans, for goodness sake. Another person that I have an appointment with in a couple of weeks is the oncology dietitian. And I hadn't met with her for quite some time. Part of it was COVID, and then we got past COVID, and I was undergoing treatment, and it just kind of fell off my radar. But I have been reacquainted with her, and I have an appointment in just under 2 weeks, and I'm going to be able to get some information about that as well. And again, I'm going to take all the information I'm getting to her so that we can talk about a diet that will work. She did tell me something that made me feel a little bit better, at least for me in a selfish way. And that is that it's not uncommon for meat to be really unappealing to people who recently had chemotherapy or who have cancer in an advanced stage. So, you know what? I love beans. There are other forms of protein that I am willing to ingest. I have no problem eating yogurt, I have no problem eating cheese. And then, of course, beans are a great source of plant-based protein. And so are flax seeds and flax milk. So I have ways of getting protein. Plus, there are those drinks now with like 1 gram of sugar and stuff that you can take in a pinch. So we do have a lot of options other than eating meat. It's just hard because a lot of the recipes that my brain and my body crave, they all have meat in them. So this is an adjustment for my husband and I. He doesn't have a problem eating meat, and he likes meat, and he shouldn't stop eating meat. Although if we went completely plant-based, he'd be on board. He's just a really good partner, I have to tell you. My husband is just a very willing and kind partner going through all of this silliness. So I really think that that's going to be it for my updates for you today. I hope I didn't leave anything out. We're going to get back into more regular updates now for you that the month of preparedness is over with. And if I host it next year, I will still continue to do my cancer updates for you in the middle of it. I just wasn't feeling up to snuff, and then, making sure that everything else fell in place was just, it was a distraction for me, and making another video just wasn't always something I wanted to do during that month. So thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate your support. We We have to share information so that we can spread the word about colorectal cancers. They are on the rise. You know, they've lowered the number for recommended screenings to the age of 45 in the United States. But if you have a family history of it, or you're sensing changes in your bowel habits, such as extreme diarrhea or unpredictable bouts of diarrhea or constipation. It can be one or the other, and it can be a combination of both. Your stools may thin, the color of your stool may change. You may see blood in your stool. So any kind of bowel changes, bowel habits, anything like that. Low-grade nausea. I had that as my very first symptom, and I dismissed it. I was getting, I was 48, 49 years old, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm probably getting ready to go through menopause, and this is part of that. Anyway, don't put off going to the doctor if you're scared to hear what they have to say. And I tell you that because had I gone to the doctor and insisted on maybe looking a little deeper into how I was feeling and the symptoms I was having, I may have been in for a colonoscopy sooner, and they may have pulled away polyps that eventually did turn into cancer. So I don't want people to get cancer if they can get checked sooner and that gets taken out, or you get a clean bill of health and you have yourself a really nice baseline to go with as you age. So thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'll see you later. And please, as always, be kind.